What's up, decoders? Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I have a presentation to show you guys that I've been wanting to put out for a while, but just haven't had the time to really look into it. And in this video, we're going to talk about another YouTube channel and his research, Archaix. Many of you might be familiar. He is a chronologist and a researcher and has put together a very intriguing model of the history of the world. And in this video, we're going to use my method of gematria and date measurements to see if there's any correlation that I could find that connects with Jason's Phoenix event. So we're going to jump right into it, not waste any time. Hope you guys please hit the like buttons, and here we go. So this is Jason's channel, Archaix, and over here on the left, you can see his Phoenix phenomenon. This is gotten right off his website. And I'm just going to read a short part of this. You guys can pause and read the whole thing. But basically, the Phoenix is, let me just read. These videos document, this is Jason's writing, by the way. These videos document the history of our world through 138-year visitations of the Phoenix phenomenon. This post documents how these discoveries resulted in my conclusion that I live in a simulated universe. The Phoenix object was named in antiquity, studied by the ancients, feared by kings, and it was understood in the earliest times that it was to take down the power of the archons. Over the years, I have found that disastrous episodes afflicted our world, and these visitations were patterned in 138-year periods, or in multiples of 138. I found that the monuments from the Old World recorded this 138 patterning, that the ancient traditions claimed that the angel of death appeared every 138 years. And again, you guys can read the rest of this, but basically, the Phoenix event is an event that happens catastrophically in patterns of 138 years, or years divisible by the number 138. Now, Jason, if we skip to the bottom here, he believes from Archaix that the 138-year cycle would lead us to the next year in the chronology, which is 2040. And he believes, I've seen him speak, saying that May 15th, 2040 would align with the next Phoenix phenomenon appearance in the sky, the sun darkening. And let me read the bottom here. I wrote a thesis and presented my findings to the Book Tree of San Diego, Paul Tice, and his editor. I was awarded a publishing contract, and my book, When the Sun Darkens, was born. So, this is Jason's writing about his Archaix and his book, When the Sun Darkens, and the Phoenix event that appears every 138 years. So from this information, I started looking into the number 138. And I noticed that not only did Jason mention the Phoenix, but he mentioned when the sun darkens. And of course, we've known this. This is his book, okay? And Jason has said May 15, 2040 is approximately the scheduled time for the next Phoenix. So we're going to look into this date. We're going to look and see how something in the media ties to this date with the number 138 and the Phoenix symbolism. So let's look into it. In this video, for those new to the channel, I'm going to be using 6 ciphers. The first are the ordinal ciphers, which is in gematria, is just giving the value of A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, all the way up to Z, the 26th letter, is worth 26. An expansion upon this original ordinal cipher is the Sumerian cipher, which just takes the initial A is 1 and multiplies it times 6 to get A is 6, B is 12, because 2 times 6 is 12, C is 3, 3 times 6 is 18. So this is the ordinal cipher times 6, which is, of course, the first perfect number and the number of man, 666. And notice that W in this cipher is worth 138, the number that I was just talking about. Now, the third cipher connected to this is the capitals letters cipher. So again, taking the original ordinal cipher, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, but adding in the capital letters and giving them values. So starting A through 26 is the same as this cipher, but as soon as you get to 27, you have the capital letters 27 through 52. This correlates with the number of weeks in a year, 52 weeks in a year, 52 cards in a deck. So this is the capital cipher. And we just do the same thing over here with the reverse ciphers. In this case, the original ordinal cipher is just reversed. So Z is worth 1. It's the reversing of the alphabet. Z is worth 1, A is worth 26. And this is what we do similarly with the reverse Sumerian. This cipher, the reverse cipher times 6. And then with the capitals reversed, it's just this cipher with the capitals added. Okay, so these are the ciphers I'll be using, and also the Francis Bacon cipher, which you can find on a website by Peter Dawkins, the Ferozy Cross, which is a Francis Bacon cipher. This takes into account the Old English alphabet, which didn't have J's or V's. Okay, so instead of I and J being worth different values, I and J are both worth 9. So you end up getting a 24-letter alphabet. So these are the 7 ciphers I will be using in this decode. So let's jump into it. So given that Jason's 138 Phoenix cycle is what he's discovered in the past, I began looking into this group in World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, again, these characters are selected and created willingly and knowingly, okay? And all of their gimmicks are selected for reasons. And I've been telling people this for a long time. This group is known as the New Day. And just think of the Phoenix, guys. Not only is the New Day a symbol of the Phoenix, because the symbol of the Phoenix is death and rebirth, as in a new day, but their symbol is the Phoenix. Do you see this? So, with their symbol being the Phoenix and their name being the New Day, I began thinking, what is up with this group? And, much to my surprise, if you type in the name of this group, the New Day, it equals 138. Now, this is the number that Jason has given for the Phoenix. Okay, the amount of years it takes for the Phoenix to reappear. And of course, this group equals 138. Now, taking Jason's own words, the Phoenix object is what he's called it. That equals 138. Of course, again, as mentioned below or in the past, this is the 138-year visitations of the Phoenix object, which equals 138. Now, the centerpiece of the New Day with the Phoenix is a guy named Big E. That's his wrestling name. And when you take his wrestling name, Big E, and you took it into the Sumerian cipher, it equals 138. So his group, the New Day, equals 138, and his name, Big E, equals 138. Now, I want you guys to think of the symbolism of Big E, big ending, okay? In fact, he uses the move when he wrestles called the big ending. Now, we're talking about the Phoenix, guys. New beginnings, endings, and new things from endings. So you have the New Day, and in the group, you have the centerpiece, which is the ending, the big ending. So a big ending, which allows there to be a new day. This is the Phoenix, and that's why their symbol is clearly the Phoenix coming up, and you can see the sun, right? And Jason talks about the sun darkening, and the Phoenix is coming up over the sun in their symbol. Okay, so anyway, you have the big ending, Big E, being the centerpiece of the new day. So you have to have endings to have beginnings, is basically what they're telling. Now, again, his move in the WWE is even called Big Ending. Okay. So yeah, as I wrote here, Big E stands for Big Ending. Ending refers to the Phoenix, which creates new days out of endings. Okay, so that's specifically what this group is symbolizing, which goes perfectly with the resets of the Phoenix phenomenon, which is 138 years, and that's why Big E equals 138. Now, I was looking more for the 138, but what I discovered was that there's another number that seems to tie our narrative to the Phoenix event. Remember, Jason says the next Phoenix event will be May 15th, 2040. And that's, again, 138-year periods, okay? Now, we know that Big E equals 138, as I just showed you, okay? But his birth, so I decided to look into Big E and see when the Phoenix event would be happening in relation to his birthday. And so what I did is I took a measurement from Big E's actual date of birth, March 1st, 1986, and I measured to the supposed Phoenix phenomenon date. And much to my surprise, I got the exact number 198. In numerology, zeros are not counted. So this number lands on a perfect number for Big E to the Phoenix phenomenon. Okay. And 198 if you drop the zeros. So I started looking into it, and much to my surprise again, this number was very important to this whole thing. And look at this, guys. Big E, born exactly 198 days before the Phoenix phenomenon, and Phoenix phenomenon equals 198. Not only that, the book that Jason from Archaix wrote to describe the Phoenix phenomenon, the title he chose for the book, When the Sun Darkens, equals 198, like Phoenix phenomenon. And you're telling me that the guy who I took, who equals 138, like it's 138 years, periods, if you go from his actual birth to the actual event that Jason gives, you get the number that coincides with the name of his book and the name of his, he calls this the Phoenix phenomenon, equals 198. And When the Sun Darkens equals 198, the name of his book, in the same cipher. And that's perfect. Not only that, but in the capital ciphers, which I revealed to you earlier, Phoenix object equals 198. Jason also called it the Phoenix object, okay? And in the capital cipher, Phoenix object equals 198, like Phoenix phenomenon, like When the Sun Darkens. And the guy who I took the measurement from, that's 198 days before, his move is Big Ending, which equals 198 in the same cipher, guys, as the Phoenix. So not only does Phoenix phenomenon equal 198, but the Phoenix equals 198 and Phoenix object equals 198. And this guy who represents the Phoenix right on his front is 198 days old on this day. It's just mind-blowing. Okay? I don't know how this could be a coincidence. Maybe it is. But I'm hoping that Jason will see this and just see how coded this really seems to be. Now, Big E, the big ending, he had a big ending to his career. During a match on March 11th, you guys know how important that day was in our recent history. On March 11th, 2022, Big E was thrown over his back and landed on his neck and broke his neck. See right here? A big ending, and he was career ending. Now look at this. I just showed you how from his birth to the Phoenix phenomenon date is 198, and all these things equal 198. But not only that, the guy who I'm talking about having the 198 connection, he breaks his neck, which equals 198 in a big ending to his career. And again, from his birth to the Phoenix phenomenon, 198, he broke his neck to end his career equals 198. Okay? Now, the guy that broke his neck, who was throwing him, this guy, Ridge Holland, he was born on this date, May 29, 1988. If you measure from his birth, again, I already showed you from Big E, the broken neck, to the Phoenix phenomenon is 198 days exactly with the 2 zeros. And Phoenix phenomenon, when the sun darkens, both equals 198. And if you measure from the guy who broke his neck, it's 18980. And if you guys know numerology, the fact that this guy who broke this guy's neck, and neck equals 198, and from this guy's birth to the Phoenix phenomenon is 19800, and from the guy who broke his neck, it's 18980. Very similar digits, guys. In fact, this is the year that this guy was born. Look, he was born in 1988. If you rearrange these digits from his birth to the Phoenix phenomenon date, the exact day is his birth year, 1988. And that's his year, 1988. But it also has the 198 in it. In fact, notice both their years has the 198, which is the important number here. 198.6 and 198.8. So to me, this doesn't seem to be a coincidence, guys. How is all this so perfectly synced, not only with Jason's book, not only with the date measurement of Big E, but also with the guy who broke his neck? Okay? So, again, you guys can chalk this up to coincidence if you want, but to me, this seems very compelling. And I'm going to show you more evidence. So, most people know that the abbreviation for Phoenix is PHX. There's an airport in Phoenix, Arizona, that's labeled PHX, and even the basketball team for Phoenix uses the abbreviation PHX. And I thought it was interesting that not only did I show all these other words equaling 198, Phoenix phenomenon, when the sun darkens, Jason's book about the Phoenix phenomenon, both equal 198, but if you abbreviate Phoenix, like most people do, PHX in Sumerian equals 198. And of course, just the Phoenix in capitals equals 198. These are very low probabilities that all these things connected with the Phoenix equals 198. And now, this is where it gets interesting, because the Phoenix is coming from the Phoenicians, okay? And notice that the Phoenicians equals 198, like the Phoenix, okay? And this is in the capital ciphers, the same ciphers, the capital cipher and the capital reverse. The Phoenicians equals 198, like the Phoenix. And I put this here because I thought it was interesting, but the word the equals 198. And we know I'm adding the word the here. So I'm adding the 198 to the Phoenix, and then I still get a 198 connection, okay? And I showed you already that Big E broke his neck, which equals 198 in the same cipher as the word the, okay? The Phoenix, right? You just don't say Phoenix, you say the Phoenix. And again, in reverse Sumerian, which is the similar cipher, the abbreviation for Phoenix equals 198, okay? So the Phoenicians, the society that connected phonetically with the Phoenix, also has the 198. Now, because we know that, we can go back and look. Notice that the tree where the Phoenicians get their name is derived from the date palm, which is on their money, right? The date palm coins from the Mediterranean depicts the date palm, which is known as the Phoenix Archaixia, however you say that. So the date palm is the Phoenix, guys. Notice how it has it looks like it's rising, right, from the ashes if you look at it, right? And again, the Phoenicians equals 198. That goes perfectly with the Phoenix, okay? And that goes perfectly with all this that I showed you with Big E. Now, let's finalize this and make one final statement about how this whole group, the New Day, is symbolic of the Phoenix event. So I already talked about Big E, the centerpiece, the ending to the new beginnings. But what about the two guys on his left and right? Well, they're also coded. And notice, I told you that the phoenix comes from the date palm. That is where the phoenix, that's the symbol of the Phoenicians, okay? And the date palm looks like somebody's head with hair, okay? In fact, the other wrestler who's on his left side here is Kofi Kingston. And Kofi Kingston's symbol looks like the date palm tree. Do you see it? Here's his head, and here's the head of the tree, and then the leaves coming off. Okay, you see how similar his logo is to the date palm. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Now notice that Kofi Kingston equals 142, like date palm. Notice that date palm equals New Day. That's the name of the group without the. New Day equals 142 in two of the capital ciphers. Now, date palm equals 142 like Kofi Kingston. And again, I told you his logo looks like the date palm. Now, the other guy on the right is Xavier Woods. And much to my surprise, his name also equals 142. Okay, so the name of the group, the New Day, or just New Day, which they're often called, equals 142. The two characters in the group, Kofi Kingston, 142, Xavier Woods, 142, and they're on either side. And they connect perfectly with the tree that's modeled after the Phoenicians, the phoenix, the date palm. Okay? And just think about the similarities between Kofi Kingston's date palm. Notice that this is Xavier Woods wearing the phoenix again on his shirt. Okay? So this video, guys, is just to point out the crazy synchronicities between this group, the Phoenicians, the Phoenix, and Jason's book, When the Sun Darkens. Okay? And again, this is from the main character, the main centerpiece, the big ending to the actual date that Jason gives is 19800, and that just happens to be the name, the gematria of his book, When the Sun Darkens, and his name of his event, he calls this Phoenix Phenomenon, both equal 198, and the guy who breaks the guy's neck also has a measurement that seems to line up with this date. So is this just a coincidence? I don't know. But to me, there's enough evidence here to really raise an eyebrow as to what this really could be about. But with that being said, I think I've presented the base information. There's actually more to say, but if maybe there will be a part 2 to this video, but if not, I'm sure I'll talk about it again in the future. Hopefully Jason from Archaix will see this, and thank you again all the loyal supporters of my channel who watch, and thank you guys so much as always. Please hit the like buttons on the way out. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next video. God bless.